interested in hearing about your dad as this kind of tough guy, Navy lieutenant, and you've often told the story about the famous call third strike. It was obviously an important experience for you.
Yeah, well, one thing, Seth, at Texas, when you say it once, it comes up a lot because everybody goes back and reads the one interview from 1998.
Well, we're all armchair psychologists anyway,
yes,
so.
Yes. Dad was tough. Unlike Granddad, he was tough in a different way. Granddad was tough, but Dad didn't smile very much. He was superintendent of schools. He was a one-year football coach, and it didn't work out for him. But what I thought is there's so many different ways to motivate people. And I watched Granddad do it one way with still a stern hand, and I watched Dad do it another way with his toughness. And Dad had a great heart. As he got older and I got older, he reached out to us so much. I had him sit in the press box once at a game when I was calling plays at Iowa State because he was so critical of coaches, like a fan. He said one time, boy, Tom Landry's just stupid, and he can't call plays. Now, my brother Watson and I were sitting there not in a bowl game at Vanderbilt and Iowa State, and we said, God, what does he think of us if he thinks Tom Landry's stupid? But I sat him in the press box. It was at Oklahoma when I coached for Barry there, and I was offensive coordinator, and he was sitting next to me. And after the game, it was amazing. He said, my gosh, son, a lot of things you call just, they don't do the right stuff. Or the defense changes. People just don't understand this. And I said, yeah, Dad, that's right. Our family has tremendous pride. Mm-hmm. And he always said, the Brown family is going to do everything right. And I hear that he's on the shoulder today saying that. And when I took the third strike and he jerked me out of the game and took me home, it was basically a message that I want you to go after it, son. I want you to be tough. I want you to be strong. And the message out there is go for it.
I've been around your dad quite a bit, been lucky to be around your dad quite a bit. A lot of people don't really know how good of a player he was, right, at Boston College. But he doesn't seem like one of these sort of really hard-driving guys, put his foot up your rear type of dads, I mean, where did that drive come from? Or maybe was he more of a hard-driving guy at a young age?
I think there's different points and times in everybody's life where you get to a point and stage as you're growing up in your household and you sit there and say, okay, where's my life going? What am I going to do? And he was not necessarily a hard driving guy as much as what he was he was very honest. He was very upfront. He was never one of these guys that thought I was the best thing since sliced bread. He always would say, listen, you want to play college basketball, you say you want to do all these things, but you don't work hard enough and you're kidding yourself. And that's the one thing I always admired about him is he was always truthful and honest. He never sugarcoated things and he never babied me. Now, he always made it my decision. He never forced me to go play basketball. He
wasn't one of these crazy sports dads. You see him all the time.
No, he was never that way. He knew it had to come internally from me. But he said, if this is what you want to do, here's a direction of things that you need to do.
Obviously, I want to talk about your dad, who was the defensive coordinator and history teacher, which I love, because I love history, at Cardinal Mooney High School. When people talk about your dad and write about your dad and all of the gifts that he gave you, most of the time they're talking about football. But I sense, Bob, that pales in comparison to the example that he said about the importance of balance between family and work. Is that fair to
No
say?
question. He was so much more. None of us think of my dad about sports or football. That was a big part of his life, but it's about the man he was, the husband he was, the father he was. Looking back at my dad, who I feel to this day is the wealthiest man in the world. He had everything he wanted and didn't have money, but it didn't matter.
Talked to your dad for a little while last night. I know he was an athlete at Arizona, a football player and a runner, and I guess when you were still in elementary school, you were getting up crack of dawn and running with him, huh?
Yeah.
What made you do that?
I have no idea, to be honest. I just remember one morning, I always just, you're sleeping, you hear him get up, and then you hear him out there doing some push-ups and stuff. And then one morning, honestly, I woke up and I just couldn't go to sleep. So I went out there with him. I just started doing some push-ups with him and some sit-ups. And then it was so funny when we were little, so we used to have bikes. And at first, it started out as scooters. So, you got the electric scooters. We'd, sit there and ride by them for a couple miles. We'd just be sitting there on electric scooters riding by them. And then after that, after a year or two, I got into junior high and about to leave junior high. Then, I said, screw the bikes, and I started running. And ever since then, from junior high, from when I was a little kid, getting up, doing 100, 200 push-ups, sit-ups, stretching, and then going on a three-mile jog every day. It's not easy. And, after that.
It sounds like a great way to sort of establish early in your life a habit
Having in a routine.
Being up early,
Yeah.
working hard, putting in your time.
Yeah, and obviously we were just talking about the morning practice, and I think that's really why I like the morning practices.
Like a lot of men in your profession, your father was a tremendous influence on your life. Big Jim was a coal miner. Took you down to the mines twice. First time he took you down to the mine, you were 10 years old. What do you remember about that?
That I wanted no part of it. I was going to do well in school, get an education, go to college. That was his most thing. It wasn't ball for me. His was you got an education. That was the most important. And my mom was a chemistry physics teacher, very influential too. Great. My mom was unbelievable, but she was very educated. My dad never got an education. Couldn't, because he had to work for the family. And
Eighth grade, right?
Exactly. He went out of school in the 8th grade. And if you didn't get an education, that's one of the few jobs you could make that make significant living and be able to live. But it was an unbelievably hard life, and I knew I wanted no part of that after I went down there.
Was that why he showed you the mine to let you know?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. This is the things, and this is why I want you, because this is the only place you have a chance unless you move away. I mean, do something else. But then if you don't have an education, what chances do you have? And he had his way of making points to me.
Well, he was a tough son of a gun. I read where
Very.
He was in this horrible explosion down in the mine, 1967, 3 months in the hospital, severe burns. Your mom said his fingers looked like burnt hot dogs. And then he went back to work in the mine.
Instead of, guys now would be suing, he went back to the coal mines and went back to work.